All right. I don't know what the deal was with the little technical difficulty I just had, but something was up. Welcome. What's up, everybody? Uh, it's so quiet here. I'm not used to the silence. Usually there's noise somewhere. Right now there's none. Uh, what's good though? It is Wednesday, August 5th, 2020. And I feel good today, just to start off with that. My goal tonight in my story time is not to dwell on so many negative things, as I feel like some of these story times maybe have highlighted the difficult times that I've been through quite a bit. Not that it's not a huge part of the story and the music business altogether. It's not just me. It's hard for everybody, but I don't want to leave out the good stuff either, because all the bad things eventually turn into something good if you're Izzy done for, because we do our best not to leave things in a bad spot. There ain't no reason to do that. So every time I go back and think about what I've said after these story times, I'm like, oh, I could have said this, or maybe I should have talked more about this, or just like anything, you look back and you think maybe you could have done a either different or better or equal job, but just maybe highlighted more of the good stuff is kind of what I'm thinking. So, what's up, everybody? Welcome in. Glad you guys are interested enough in my life and in the things that I've been through with my music career to come and listen and hang out. I had no idea what to expect when I started doing these things, and you guys have definitely just brightened up my perspective on doing anything digitally and online. And I stayed away from it for a long time because I wanted to be live and in people's faces, and getting people together rather than always having them watch the online live streams and stuff. But times have changed. Things are different now. But yeah, hi everybody, what's up? Welcome to my little story time I try to do every other week if I can pull it off. And this is a non-scripted little podcast, I guess is what you would call it. I'm on 4 different feeds: my personal Facebook page, my artist Facebook page, my Twitch page, and my YouTube live. So if any of those ever mess up while you're watching these guys, you can go to another one, and hopefully there's no issues. I know sometimes they get a little quirky. So what's up though, everybody? I'm glad you tuned in. Thank you so much. How you doing tonight? It might start raining here pretty soon. It was supposed to rain this afternoon, but it hasn't yet. Dang it. Been waiting for it to rain. We need a little bit of rain. It's dry. But so when I stopped the story time last, I'm pretty sure the last thing that I said was, and then I put out the fields of opportunity and just kind of let it go. I went a little long, and I was probably just tired of talking, because I remember saying that and thinking, yeah, like it was just that easy. I guess tonight we'll probably start right at or right around the release party for the Fields of Opportunity, which I'm going to go back just a little bit beforehand, because I had a DJ who worked with me almost all the time, from the point where I had done Tough Bong business. And at this point, it hadn't stopped all the way completely. We were still at least kind of communicating. There were definitely more than one occasion of words back and forth where they weren't happy with something that I had said or done, because I was out hustling and trying to, create more opportunities than they were offering me. Always trying to be on MySpace, which was the big way to market back then. And I guess they just kind of didn't like the fact that I was able to make all these connections that they already supposedly, had established, or, with DJ Starscream, Sid being who he is, and in the networks that he's in, maybe he just handles business a little differently. I don't think that was the case. I feel like there was wants. They wanted to help, and they wanted to have me be a part of all these, larger scale events, but they weren't able to follow through with a lot of it and pull it off, because a lot of those things take money and it requires a budget, and that was something that Tough Bong Records never did have. You would think that a record label that was signing artists and recording albums and distributing them would have some sort of a budget available, which was kind of some of the problem with Simply Complicated and Tough Bong Records, because Combine wanted to be able to leave his job. He was working at True Green, and I guess at the time I wasn't really working other than my music hobby. It was at the time, trying to turn it into work. I had just graduated school, so I had more time on my hands than I was used to, I guess, and my time was dedicated to my music, and that was it. When things weren't going the best or as good as I thought they could or should, because of the people who were involved in the project we were working on, I would get real frustrated some days and call whoever the manager was at the time. In the beginning it was Dave, in the end it was Simon Mead. And I just kind of complain and voice my frustration, and sometimes yell at them about how much opportunity was in front of us that nobody was taking any action to, really seize and really just pull in the reins and make these things happen. So it was coming time to release The Fields of Opportunity, which is a double disc album, 34 songs. The follow-up to what I felt was my best work up to that point, my self-titled album, Izzy Done For, the only release on Tough Bong Records, period, that whole business ever put out. I had moved to Minnesota, and the Las Vegas show that I explained in the last one had gone down, and it was all bad. Total loss, total wash of all the money that we put in. The shows were canceled. There was never any payouts. I didn't make a single dime for, I think I took 7, 8, 9 people. So yeah, bad deal. When we finally come back together, it was time to release The Fields of Opportunity. But before that, I had to get the album done. I didn't have Tough Bong Records Studio helping me with this one. We had like 8 songs from the previous album that weren't released, that weren't put out on that album, that we included with Fields of Opportunity. About to See, Home, Party Like Me was one of them. Understand, the intro. There were I think 4 others. There were 8 total. Those tracks and the whole self-titled album project itself, I had been given a written release for, because I paid cash to the manager of Tough Bong Records, and he gave me a written release signed by him on behalf of Tough Bong Records. So when I did that, I went to Sid's house, got all the music on a hard drive. It's sitting right here still, the same hard drive. It's right in front of my face. And started working on The Fields of Opportunity immediately, because I knew that I had a great album that nobody was going to push, that nobody was going to help me with, nobody was going to market but me. So I had DJ Fate and offered him to come move to Minnesota with me, where we would have this house that we could turn into a production house, be working all the time, just nonstop, cranking out new music. But at the time, it was focused on Fields of Opportunity. So we had done the About to See video. That was the first one that we released for that project, the double disc album. We had shot the Do What I Want video at Done For Ranch. So this is around August, and we're trying to get the album completed. So every day I was back and forth from a house I stayed in Shakopee to the Done For Ranch, which was more out about 35 minutes away, Belle Plaine, Union Hill, Jordan, Minnesota area. And I told Fate, I said, we got to get this done by this date, because Copycats is who I went through, a Minnesota production house, which does all the printing, pressing for the CDs and the albums, all the booklet, which for this one was a great big booklet. Like, I spent as much money as I possibly could on this album because the people who were involved in this project actually wanted to do something at the time and wanted to make these, wanted the marketing to be what it was supposed to be, wanted to put some money into it, wanted people to see it, hear it, have actual tours happen like they were supposed to for artists who have great projects. And so we went to work, and I told Fate we have to have this album done by this date, no matter what. So the issue was Labor Day. It was the end of August. The production and pressing takes so long. They have to do the burning of the CDs, which takes so long. Then they have to put all of these things together in the cases and then shrink wrap them, which my project was huge. It was, like I said, 2 discs, 17 tracks on each one. If I remember right, and I haven't looked at this for a long time, but I think all of the words are in the book as well. So it's a thick booklet. It was 20-some pages, front and back. So I think it was the fact that it was going to take twice as long to do because it was a double disc. And so I told Fate, by this date, have it done. And when the Friday came and it didn't get done. It was close, but it didn't get done. And so that was the first time that I actually yelled at my DJ and had to absolutely vent and tell him that he had fucked up. I guess before that, I never wanted to be the guy who had to be the boss, who had to yell, who had to be upset because things went wrong. But at this point, I felt like we had enough of a focus on being ahead of the game, and we had already gone through so many setbacks with the last album that I really wanted this one to be perfect. So when that happened, I went all the way off on Fate, and I think that was probably, I'm going to fix my hair, probably the beginning of the end of our good relationship. I mean, we worked for another, I think, 7 months together after that, but I knew that things had changed, I guess, at that point, which, of course, the fear that I had of having to be a boss and have to stand up and say you fucked up, it definitely came to life. And so there were just not even real issues other than, I guess I felt like I was being avoided a little bit more after that because my expectations were real, and it wasn't just, hey, this is for fun and let's try to get this done. It was more like, here's the date, have this done. And I actually had tried to get like a full career started, or like a salary, I should say, not a full career, but a salary set aside for Fate to do all the work that he was doing. But it never worked out to where the work that he was doing was enough for him to actually earn the salary, which was conflicting with as much work as I was putting on his plate. Like, I definitely have to take some of the blame for what was going on at the time because I was pushing hard. I had been let down on the last one. It was he and I in this house, and then we had other people who were now, who used to be kind of on our side, but weren't being the same team, I guess, that we were used to in the past. So as I was setting up the release party for the Fields of Opportunity, I had it in Newton, Iowa. It was in a hotel. I think they just shut it down. Maybe they're tearing it down right now. Called the Newton Motor Inn. And as a kid growing up, the Newton Motor Inn was where you would just kind of maybe meander to by the end of the night on a weekend to see who might have ended up out there because they were either drinking underage or hiding from the cops or it was where the excitement, I guess, was going down if you couldn't go to the bar, if you were a juvenile delinquent in Jasper County. So the Newton Motor Inn it's on the outside of Newton. We could have RVs there. I had the whole thing available for people who wanted to stay. I don't think very many people did. But so anyway, I'm gonna light my blunt. How you guys doing? What's up? I'm talking a lot, but I gotta keep the story moving, otherwise I get lost. And especially after I light my blunt, you might find that I get sidetracked a little bit. But right now, we're getting to the Newton Motor Inn, and a lot of you people who are in here, it's kind of cool because you are actually there. I thank you for still hanging out with me. This is 10 years ago, so it makes me feel good that I have people who give a shit about me still after that long of getting kicked in the teeth, putting these songs out, and having as much fun as I do. I really do mean that. Thank you guys for hanging out with me for so long. Let me fire this up. Got a little brain OG in my blunt. Brain food. Yeah. I really only smoke blunts now when I tell these stories with you guys, so I'm going to enjoy it for just a second. If you got some weed, light it up. I'm used to having music. In the morning, we do the Unmasked Underground, and I play my music on there. And it's 2 hours of just a good time, man. I try to do my best to start our day off right and uplift people, and a lot of you guys are in here tonight. That's what's up. Take a hit to that. It's not wake and bake, but smoke some weed. So, the Fields of Opportunity CD release party was in Newton, Iowa at the Newton Motor Inn. RVs could park there. I had all the rooms blocked off, so the whole place was available for us. I had pizza come in. I don't remember what all we had for liquor. I think there might have been a couple kegs, bottles. It was a party. We threw a party. Leading up to that party, however, I knew that I was not going to be able to follow through with having a CD at my CD release party because the album did not get turned in time to have at my fucking party. I was pissed. And I guess that was the reason I got so mad at fate, was because I was the one who had to stand up there on the stage and tell everybody that I threw this great big party for a CD that I didn't have to give everybody. And that was another letdown for me. I was embarrassed, and it just wasn't the way I wanted it to go. So, funny, that day, a lot of people don't know this part. But Sid was working on an album at the time. He had moved to a brand new studio because his old studio where I recorded my album had gotten broken into by the owner was a crackhead. I'd seen him once or twice there. He had somebody break in the place because he said Sid owed him money. I don't know if it's the truth or not. That's just what I was told because I showed up there right after he was either in or out of that place. And he was like, nope, nobody's here. They're out of town. So I rolled out. I didn't pay any attention to it and didn't think nothing of it because I knew he owned the place. But when I came back the next time, I found out that he had broken in and stolen all the studio equipment, anything that he thought that was valuable. So, and this was not too long after my album was done. So Tough Bong actually went through some hard times also. I can't just say that everything was always rosy for everybody involved in that situation. And I don't, it's not my job to tell their side of the story, but it's true. They went through a lot of difficult times trying to start a new business also. And so their old studio got broken into. A lot of things got stolen. Sid lost a lot of equipment, but I guess I shouldn't talk about anything like insurance. I don't know how that all went for him. All I know is I helped him move what was left out of that studio to another studio, which was in an old house of his friends on the south side of Des Moines. I think I might have. No, I didn't even record any songs there. They had set the studio up. We listened to a couple songs there. I did a photo shoot there with Sid's Killa clothing brand. He was trying to put that out and wanted to use me as a face for it while he was doing that. That never really came to be because of the split. So either way, from that studio, he got a brand new building that he had bought, put a brand new fucking studio. I mean, top of the line, top notch, looked very nice. Like I said, we still got along at this point. I was in the studio 2 or 3 different times. So the day of the release party, the reason I'm telling you this is because I was supposed to record a verse for Sid's album. I think it was called Sid the Third. And he may have released it. I haven't been able to find it. I think there's a few songs on YouTube. I'm pretty sure it came out. I don't know how well it did. But I showed up to the studio to record this verse. And Sid and I were not getting along very well at the time. So I remember the verse that I had written had a couple lines in it where I had kind of expected him to almost be mad at me for what I said in it, because I was saying some things that I really felt. And I felt like if we were making music together, that I had the right to say what I really felt, even if it was being recorded in his studio for his album. But for some reason, Sid never showed up. And he left me sitting in the parking lot that morning for an hour and a half. That was the moment that I had to stand up for myself with Sid. Absolutely. Told him I wasn't going to waste my time anymore. It wasn't fair that I had sat in that parking lot for hours and hours and hours and hours in the past waiting on him to come there, which was part of the reason that Combine had a big problem with Sundays recording was simply complicated, because we would show up early enough to where he could maybe catch his game in the afternoon watching the Detroit Lions. But Sid would be late because he was off riding motorcycles or doing something with his dogs at home or whatever he might have been doing. It was probably nothing, to tell you the truth, because I know how it is. But he would leave us sitting in the parking lot for hours at a time. And then sometimes he would yell at us when he got there because we smoked weed in the parking lot. And there was this little antique shop that was hooked to the studio, and so that was supposed to be a no-no. But if you're going to leave us there for fucking hours when we're supposed to be in the studio, I'm sorry, but I guess that's a consequence of leaving us sit there that long. But so that day, I finally left, said, dude, I have shit I got to do too, man. I have a release party I'm throwing tonight. I have hundreds of people who are going to show up to this event that you're supposed to play at. He was actually booked for my CD release party for the Fields of Opportunity to open up the show, DJ Starscream. And he told me he was helping his sister move. That's why he had left me sitting in the parking lot for so long. So I never got to record my part for his song for his album. Was never, ever on it at all. And he kind of was mad that I was talking, like, hey, fuck you, basically. But he still showed up to open up the show at the Newton Motor Inn in Newton, him and his girlfriend. So as we're setting up, I was standing there helping him, bringing all his gear in. And let me say this, as we were walking in, I said, man, this is also around my birthday. This was the 9th of September, 9/9 of 2009. And I told him on the way in, I said, so far so good. usually on my birthday, it's a big tragedy. In one way or another, some drama goes down, and I'm left just wondering what the fuck happened. My birthday is September 11th. So shit goes down on my birthday, and it just feels like it's a recurring thing. Like, for some reason, my birthday is not a happy day for me. But this particular one, I want it to be the best it could be. So number one, I'm dealing with the fact that I know I don't have my album available at my CD release party. That's number one on my mind, killing me. I mean, absolutely killing me. Number two is that Sid and I have not gotten along for the past 2 months because he canceled this Las Vegas show that we were supposed to do. And the only thing that I know is now he's mad because I didn't, basically stick around at the studio to fucking kiss his ass when he got there to record this verse. So when he shows up and I'm bringing all this stuff in, helping him set up, I'm like, yeah, man, I wish I had the album here, but I don't. I'd really like to give it to you so you could listen to it. And he's like, yeah, why don't you have it? And I said, well, when we were working on it, we didn't get it to the press in time. I said, but dude, it's so good. I said, it's a double disc. We took the 8 songs from the self-titled album and put them on this one and, beefed them up a little bit. And as soon as I said that, I knew that it was all just about to change. Because he stood up and he said, you can't do that. And I said, well, exactly like this. I laughed. I said, well, what do you mean I can't do that? And he said, you can't release that music. That does not belong to you. That's mine. And I said, no, I have a signed piece of paper that says that it belongs to me. It was released to me from your record label. And for some reason at that point, his girlfriend started kind of yelling in my ear and sticking up for him. Granted, I get it, and I know why. She was saying what she was saying and mad. She was part investor in Tough Bong Records, and what they were working on then was called Mach 2.8. So Tough Bong Records didn't exist anymore, but still the money that she had invested was rolled over into Mach 2.8, which was what Sid was now trying to work with in his new record label or whatever he was doing, management label, whatever. I don't know what he was doing because I told him I wasn't going to be a part of it. He didn't do me any favors other than getting the album done in Tough Bong. So he was going to have to show me that he was going to be able to run a record label before I was going to be signed to any other project that he was involved with. And I was upfront about that, and I meant it. I mean, I think that was fair because I gave him my all in the one that he didn't do a fucking thing with. So I got her yelling at me. I'm trying not to say everybody's names. I got her yelling at me. He's trying to say something, and I turned to her and I said, who in the fuck are you anyway? I was talking to him. This is between he and I. He had a record label I was signed to. We made that music. You had nothing to do with it. You have nothing to say right now. And then she really went off and started screaming, and then I started screaming also. And there were a few kids in the pool that probably shouldn't have heard some of the language that was being used. But the way my CD release party started off was my friend / producer walking away telling me he was going to sue my ass off and peace be with me. And so I helped him as much as I was allowed to with his things out the door that I had just helped him carry in to set up. About that time, I think Fate finally showed up. Now, the reason that people are showing up late, and I've been trying to set up for a while because I like to be early, was because not only is it around the time of my birthday, but it's also the Iowa Hawkeye versus the Iowa State Cyclone football game, which is the biggest sports event in Iowa. It's the Iowa Super Bowl. So the host of my party has a a booking during the day to host that football game. My DJ is a huge Hawkeye fan and absolutely doesn't fucking miss Hawkeye football. So my business is more important to me than any sporting event ever has been. I'm not huge into sports. I'll watch them, but they're definitely not my priority. It seems like everybody that I try to work with has a sports priority that they put in front of whatever we happen to be working on at the time. So that was another thumbs down, I guess, when it came to the party. So we were a little bit late getting set up for the CD release party. I had Chris Rinaldo come out, and he played a set before my performance. And he and one of my best friends got there at the same time. And Sid had just left. Everybody was everybody who was there. It wasn't a full crowd yet, but there was definitely people coming in already. Like, it was that time. It was showtime. I consider when the doors are rolling, showtime. So a few of the people who were there gave me a couple shots, trying to make me feel better, because what they had just seen, they knew was pretty serious. Everything that I had just worked for, for the last 3 years, pretty much just walked out the door on me. And I still had a show that I had to do. So when Chris showed up and my friend showed up, they came in happy as fuck to be there, had no idea what was going on. I had to take them into the room that I had set up on the side to get ready, and I broke down. I lost it. That was one of the most overwhelming times, I guess, in my music career that had ever hit me at one time, because it was like I felt everything going down the drain, and I had this show to do, and I had all these people showing up, and for, I guess, I don't know, maybe a half hour, I just kind of sat in the room and cried. I didn't know what else to do. But people kept coming in, kind of, trying to pep me up, and it's okay, it's all right, you'll be fine. Which they were right, eventually you got to be okay. But that night was hard, because I had to do the show, and I had to show my face, and in front of everybody, I felt defeated. I had no album to give, so what I had done was burnt, I think, 5 songs onto some CDs, and they were the 5 singles that I was going to put out on the Fields of Opportunity. And so I just gave those away with the admission as people came in. We did the show. Chris and I finished it out. Like, the show was cool. It was, whatever energy I had left, I put into it. My mom and dad were both there. One of the only times that they've ever been together and got along in my whole life. So it wasn't all bad. And, we got through it. But the night of the release was difficult. It was tough on me, and we went out afterwards and hit a couple bars and had some drinks and whatever. Woo, had fun, celebrated. But, in the back of my mind, I wasn't really celebrating a whole lot. I was pretty disappointed in the way things had went, and I knew that it was going to be a lot different going forward from then on, because all the people who were supporting me before that pretty much just pulled out and rolled out. And so when I moved to Minnesota, it was kind of a fresh start, and that was kind of the closing of, I guess, the beginning of the end of what Iowa, ended up being for me. Where I grew up, my start of my music career came to an end with a big kick in the nuts. And it was tough, and it was hard. And I moved to Minnesota because it was that hard for me. I just didn't want to be there anymore. But in doing that, I moved in to an area where I was surrounded by people who were also involved with the project that I had just walked away from or lost or whatever you want to say, parted ways with might be the best way to put it. And so it was like this negative energy started just following me everywhere I went, because the person that I was in a relationship with was a family member of the band Blue Felix, or at least a member of that band. I'd see him every week. We'd eat at Grandma's house together, and they're all touring with DJ Starscream or whatever, and he'd show up and eat dinner, and here I'm sitting at the table, like doing my own thing now, but and he's trying to tell his stories or whatever, and I'm just sitting there, and what am I gonna say? Whatever, it wasn't, the family table wasn't the place for those conversations, so I just sat there and felt weird. I'm sure he probably did too, but it was just a lot of negative energy from that point forward, because I was in the middle of all the people who at one time said they loved me, and at one time showed up to all my shows and were there in the front row and knew all the lyrics to my songs and would sing them when I sang them, and would come up on stage and sing songs with me and put me on stage when they were on stage, and and all of a sudden it was fuck Izzy done for, and I've always thrived off of that kind of thing. I don't have a problem with competition, but that stuff was it was personal, and it was all the time. There wasn't any escaping it. So the Fields of Opportunity came out, and I think I picked the CD up a week after the release party. And it's a great album. The Fields of Opportunity is a great album. We worked hard on it. I love it. It might be my favorite. There's so much material on it, it's hard not to be. We put the Fields of Opportunity tour together, which I had with Mercabilities, Big H, Minnesota Menace, Mercabilities. Put that blunt out for a second. And it's funny because we were kind of being harassed on that tour. Because wherever we went, like especially in Des Moines, DJ Starscream shows up and waves his fucking Grammy in the door and turns around and runs and jumps in his truck and peels out. And we're trying to do a fucking show on the tour, and we're getting harassed by this Grammy winner in my hometown, whatever, that was my producer and shit. Like, goofy shit like that was always happening. And it was just weird. And so it came, I was actually living in Minnesota. I came back to Iowa to do my first show. It was at People's in Des Moines. It was People's on Court, the third floor of where like the Liars Club, I don't even know if that's what it's called anymore. It's been so long since I've been to Des Moines downtown, but I showed up to do a show. And I got fucking served papers. I got served papers and got sued while I was on tour for the Fields of Opportunity. And at the time, the papers had, it was a bigger number than I ended up getting sued for. It was a little more than $250,000. And I didn't know how to take it. Like, it was a joke, kind of, to me, because I had no money. I was fucking flat broke. I just failed at a record deal. Everything that I had went into this album that I just put out, this double disc. It was like, okay, this person who tours the world has won a Grammy because of the famous band that he is in, now wants to sue me, little local. I'm a fucking local rapper, artist, barely even have got out of my state yet. I mean, yeah, we've got a few places, but I still don't feel like I'm a national touring artist because everything that I tried to do nationally fucking flopped. It was a total disaster. So it ended up being like, I don't know, I think 2 years almost before we actually got to court. So it was 2 years that all these things kept happening. Like, you know, I would be getting harassed because I was in Minneapolis and Blue Felix would be playing at the same place down the street, or be like, I'd tell them I was going to show up at their show, and they'd send me messages like, you show up, you're leaving on a stretcher, and all these just silly fucking threats, man. And to me, like, I wasn't threatening to hurt anybody. I was definitely threatening to win any confrontation that they were bringing towards me, but I wasn't seeking out any issues with these guys. It was all like they wanted to take me down. I was by myself. I didn't have anybody left, so I was trying to make friends in the Minnesota hip hop community, where, you know, I still had some people who were friends in Des Moines, but I didn't know now who Sid was trying to work with, just to show me that he was this big boss man who could, you know, pull puppet strings in Des Moines and fucking teach me this lesson and that lesson. And, you know, we had to go through depositions for this court case, Sid and I, to where, you know, we go sit in a room with a lawyer, and it's like mediation. They try to settle it and make it so whatever he has against me can be resolved. Well, it was like I didn't have a leg to stand on. Like, I had made a countersuit saying that he didn't pay me for the Rockstar Mayhem tour, which was true. He didn't. I didn't get a fucking dime for 3, 4, whatever, how long it was that I was out there doing all the work that I was doing. Like I said, not even a per diem. Couldn't even afford a fucking meal a day. Was lucky if I got to breakfast in time. But he had all the chips on his side. Like, he was the one who brought the lawsuit to me. So it wasn't my choice to be able to mediate anything. He had to make that choice. And I don't ever think that he really fully got that concept. Like, he sued me. I had to countersue him to have a reason not to lose that lawsuit. It wasn't, I have this issue. I'm bringing this issue to him. He needs to answer my question. That wasn't it at all. It was, he served me with papers for a fucking lawsuit of about, I think it was $245,000. It ended up being $226,232.20 cents. But all for studio time is what it said. And the studio time in my contract that I had that he said he never signed, which technically he didn't, but he gave it to me, which means we are working under these terms, that the studio or the record label covers all recording costs. And so that was what really the trial was all about. The fields of opportunity, just, it seems like it went on forever, man. Just dumb shit after dumb shit after dumb shit. I did a couple of tours. They weren't very big. I mean, I think we might have had 30 people, 40 people at the shows. That's really all hip-hop shows ever is, to tell you the truth, man. Sometimes if you have a headliner, you might get a few hundred people in there. They're never very big. But anytime I was around Des Moines, DJ Starscream wanted to show up and try to interfere somehow. And then it was coming finally down to, and I'm skipping over a lot of things because a lot of it was just touring, driving different places around the Midwest. And it wasn't really a big deal. I mean, the music that I was doing was music that I had created, written, recorded. A lot of it was stuff that he had also helped produce, but when we recorded that music, he was off in Japan most of the time. It was Mustache Pete and I in the studio. Pete was always pushing me to put it out. He wanted it to be heard. That's why we worked on it. That's why we recorded it. That's why we did the project, so people could hear it, enjoy it. for everybody's entertainment. And yes, of course, everybody wanted to make money. But the money that was made was kept by Sid. Nobody else got any. Not me, not Pete, not whoever else was involved in the record label. Sid. He got all the money. And there was some, not a lot, but some. And so all that came up in court. You know, he, on my birthday, before we went to court, this is 2 years later, tried to text me saying, hey, man, I know we can get through this. I know we can get past it. And I just texted him back. I said, dude, I still don't think you understand what the fuck's going on, man. This is not up to me. And actually, tonight's my birthday, dude. Like, I'll see you at the courthouse, man. Like, this is in your hands, dude. I don't know what else to do or to say. You're asking me to try to solve a situation that I am not in control of. There's nothing. It's out of my hands. So time goes by, and I think it was in October, maybe, that the actual trial court date is. And it was a 2-day fucking long trial. They got to pick all the jury members. I just had to sit there and watch all these things happen around me, man. Like, they pick 11 jurors. They ask all these questions. You know, the whole case is laid out in front of us, so we know everything that's going to be said or that's supposed to be answered if it's asked in a question. If you haven't been to court before, that's how it works. Everybody knows everything before you get there. It's not a surprise. That's why. They don't want shocking situation in the courtroom. They want everything to be laid out on the table in black and white. Otherwise, you can't bring it up. And if you do, then that's when mistrials happen. And it's goofy. But either way, we actually had to have the trial. Des Moines, Iowa, they pick jurors. We sit there. Sid tells his side of the story. His lawyer's in control of everything. He's running the trial. Kindly asks Sid all these questions. And his girlfriend got up there. His former manager, who had given me the release to all this music, got up there on his behalf, not on mine, of course. I'm there by myself. Nobody on my behalf. Just that is the way things go when you get sued. People aren't to be trusted. That's for damn sure. They might say a lot of shit, but when it comes down to it, when they get up on that stand, there's a whole nother world coming out of their mouth because, communication on the phone is one thing. Communication in the courtroom between a lawyer and whoever's on the stand is another thing. So everybody against old Izzy in the courtroom. And when it comes my turn to get up there on the stand, I'm expecting the same treatment, like just get asked some questions, give the answer, and, whatever. No. When it's my turn to answer questions, I get yelled at the whole time by his lawyer, accusing me of being basically a piece of shit, saying that I can't fill stadiums full of fans with my music and that I've never been successful enough to win a Grammy Award, and I've never been successful enough to fill a stadium full of people when I'm performing at a concert, and I'm not successful enough to basically have my own career be self-sustaining. I need help from other people like Sid. On that note, I'm going to relight my blunt because that brings the fire back up in me because, man, sitting up on the stand, dude, and, expecting to be treated with respect and then getting the opposite, being just absolutely belittled and tried to be made a fool of in front of a jury of people that they've selected. I didn't have a choice who was sitting there. I didn't have a choice of the questions that were being asked. But after 40 minutes of getting yelled at, answering questions as honestly as I could, and almost getting a little frustrated a time or two, but I think I kept my cool for what I was experiencing. Ended up just having to leave. Like, you don't get to know the outcome. You just go home, and you find out later. The jury goes and deliberates, and they take their time. On my drive home, though, it was about a 4-hour drive home from the courthouse in Des Moines, Iowa, to where I was living in Minnesota at the time. My lawyer called me about an hour and a half into the drive. I think I was just going under the Mason City overpass, Clear Lake, Iowa area. He called me up, said, are you ready? Of course, my heart sank because I was on the hook for $250,000. And he said, congratulations. You do not owe Tough Bong Records $250,000. You do not owe Tough Bong Records anything. The jury agreed and ruled in your favor. They didn't rule in my favor of the mayhem pay. Fine, I didn't care. I didn't even want to fucking have a lawsuit, but I had to. Like, I was forced to have a reason to be in court. Otherwise, he just would have won, and I would have owed him $250,000 or more. Whatever figure they put down on that paper, I would have owed to them. And that would have been the end of my career. Here's the deal, guys. My lawyer told me, don't go into the courtroom. They told me to stop, pull out of this trial, and walk away from it and be done with it because there was no way that I was going to come out ahead. My lawyer told me that. And I know her main concern was me being able to pay her, which, you know, it was a lot of time. Depositions cost money, mediation cost money, the trial cost money, court costs for all the jurors. Like, all that stuff has to come out of the people who are in the court cases' pocket. We pay for that. Court costs. So I think that ended up being around $50,000, a little bit more, actually. And because of the way the trial was, or the way the contract was set up that they sued me under, they were liable for those fees after I had to actually file a, I don't know, it wasn't an actual lawsuit, but I had to file something in that court saying, okay, now that we've got this judgment, they need to cover my half of whatever these expenses are because I shouldn't owe $50,000 because I was right. And the jury agreed with me and ruled in my favor. So I ended up not owing $250,000 and got to continue on being a hip hop artist and being Izzy done for. However, I did a show and I called it my victory party because I won my court case. And it was just the next week. It was an ABK show. It was at the House of Bricks in Des Moines, Iowa. And I knew I was pushing shit a little bit now because I won in court. I'm coming off a fresh victory. Now I get a little bragging rights. Yeah. Who was right? Who was wrong, motherfucker? Izzy D. Never fucking done for, bitch. You fucking drugged my name through the mud, turned all my friends against me, took them on world tours, fucking took me to court, made me sit on the hook for $250,000. Yeah. Fuck you, bud. Victory party. So, House of Bricks, Des Moines, Iowa. This is the first week in November. ABK. It's just I think it was his tour date, but I'm a part of the show. And I showed up and I see out front already is Sid Wilson and I would say 8 to 12 of his friends. Not small friends, big biker, leathered out friends. So, drove around the block, pulled up on the other side. So he's on the Grand Avenue side of the building. I'm parked on 6th, I think it's 6th Street right there. No, Penn Ave. And carried a big box because I was bringing free CDs and however many vinyls I had to give away that night left for everybody in the crowd just to celebrate my victory. And I had my dad with me. I had my girlfriend at the time with me, a few friends. I think I was driving a minivan at the time, so we had packed the minivan. I had at least that many people. And when we were walking up to the venue, I absolutely knew that it was going to be dangerous for people who were there. And so my main goal was to just face the situation head on and make whatever was going to happen immediately. So I walked right up to the corner of the venue, set the box of stuff that I had down, and immediately walked right up to Sid's face. And I said, "Are you here to see me, sir?" And I don't think he knew what to say because he didn't even quite know I was there yet. That's how fast it happened. Like, I didn't say hi to anybody else. There was no reason to. He was there to see me. That was absolutely known already. And so I just fucking walked up as fast as I could to it. All his friends were right there, of course, huffed up right behind him. Fucking, he goes off, starting saying all this, "You no good, blah, blah, blah." I was like, "What do you want, man?" He's like, "I want you to sign all that music over to me." And I said, "Dude, I will never, ever, ever sign a piece of paper that has your name on it. You're bad business. We've proven that." I said, I have no problem with you, man, but there's no more business. Like, there's no more signatures on anything. It's over. It's done. And he got mad, said, "I'll see you inside." So, fair enough. Nothing's going to happen right now. I'm cool with that because this is an all-ages show. There's kids around. So my goal was to try to diffuse any situation that was going to be of a violent nature anyway. I didn't know what was going to happen. To tell you the truth, I thought maybe I might die. I'd been threatened. My life had been, they told me on multiple occasions, many different people, that if I was to go through with this, that I was not going to see the end of it and that I was going to see the end of me. A lot of different ways. So I didn't know what I was getting into other than I was going to face it head on as fast as I could get to it and get it over with. So at the time, he didn't want none outside. Fine. I go inside, do my sound check. So when the show goes on, I'm opening for ABK. And Bonus actually came, and after all the issues that we had with White Trash Records, I called these guys back up, Bonus, and said, "Hey, man, been a long time. We had recorded a song together in the meantime up in Minnesota. I said, come to this show, perform with me. Old time's sake, man. I think it'd be fun to do." I had just lost all my other friends, so I felt like doing that. Music wasn't the right place right then. And so Bonus and I started doing a song back and forth. And in came Sid, all his friends. Front row, pushed this all-ages crowd back. And I think there's 14 or 15 of them at this point. And they're standing right front stage. And so I start with my song, "I Can Deal with the Rain." And it's a slow song. There's a couple parts where it starts talking about how this me deserves to be punished and to just kick me over the edge and don't give me a chance to breathe. And if I try to grab, just don't make sure I can't grab on. And I'm singing it right in Sid's face. On purpose, obviously. He's there to cause a problem. And so I'm making it known, here is the problem. Right here, front center stage. Now, another issue that I wasn't aware of was the venue owner was already aware that this was going to take place. So I've always been a little salty about that. As a venue owner, you don't let shit like this go down. As a venue owner, you make sure that your shows are safe. And this situation was not safe. But so Sid finally jumps up on the stage, and he's just kind of bobbing his head at first, keeping his distance. But the song changes, and then it's a song with both Bonus and myself. I have the first verse, It's a song called Uh-Oh. Uh-oh is what they go when we come. Hurry up and call the cops. 911. So anyway, he gets a little closer to me, one step at a time, as I'm doing my verse. One step, until finally he's like up against me, touching me. And I'm like, is there security in the house? Anybody want to do anything? Nobody did a fucking thing. So bonus, it's his turn to rap. It's his verse on the song. He's the second verse. And Sid's being, very advancing onto the stage. So he's right in the middle of everything. And finally bonus is like, you're ruining my set. I'm trying to spit my verse. And so finally they stop the music. I'm like, I think this guy has something to say, What do you guys think? Do you want to hear him talk or do you want the show? And this is a Juggalo show, so everybody's saying, we want the show! We want the show! So it's like, they want the show, Like, what the fuck's going on? So the promoter of the show comes up on the stage, says, okay, here, you want to fucking talk, say what you want to say. Give Sid the mic. So at our show, Sid Wilson comes with all of his friends and is given the mic, center stage. Okay, buddy, here you go. What's up? What do you want to say? And I don't know what he was trying to get across. I really don't know what the fucking point was. And here's what happened. Before that, when we were on the Fields of Opportunity tour, I was on stage. I don't remember if Sid called me or if I called Sid. But I do remember holding the phone out and having him hear the song that I was singing at the time. I don't remember who grabbed my phone, but somebody grabbed my phone from the floor. And whatever they said at that moment enraged Sid Wilson. And that was what sparked all of this off, continuously happening like a fucking crazy snowball rolling downhill. So when he gets up on the mic, he says, you ought to be booing this man because he said that I should kill myself like my brother Paul from Slipknot who just died. And everybody's like, for a second, looking at each other, and then they just started booing because it just wasn't the right place, the right time. It had nothing to do with what he was talking about other than a year and a half ago when somebody had grabbed my phone, and maybe that's what they said. I don't know because I was on stage performing. That was irresponsible of me to let my phone go. I will claim that. Never, ever, ever would I do that again. And I guess I just didn't think that something so huge would come out of that fan taking my phone for 10 seconds. And I on my heart, that's all it was. And like I said, I was performing, so I don't know what he said to Sid, but whatever it was is what kept this thing going on for this long. Anyway, he's up on stage, stopping the show. Everybody's like, what the hell's even going on? Sid's standing in my face, like, trying to provoke me into doing something. And finally, everybody's, like, just screaming, what they say, fuck your couch, fuck your couch, fuck your couch. Like, fucking, that was around the Dave Chappelle time when that Rick James fucking skit was out. And anyway, that's what everybody was screaming. And they finally, well, my girlfriend at the time started pushing Sid and pushed him down on stage. And that was when they finally came up and whoever was there for security, which I had hired security that night, they were also there, but they didn't do a fucking thing. I knew some shit was going to go down. I absolutely knew it. Like I said, I didn't know if I was going to die that night. They told me I was going to die that night. But I'm Izzy done for. I don't give a fuck. I don't stop, quit, or give up. I don't care if people fucking threaten my life. It's not new. It's nothing I haven't been through before. And maybe one day somebody will make good on it, and then I will be fucking gone. But until then, I'm never done for. And I show up, and I fucking face it head on, whatever's there to get me. And they escorted him out. We started the show. I finished my set. I gave away all the CDs and all the vinyls. I signed every fucking one of them. And then ABK got on stage, performed 3 songs. A kid had a seizure and fell down at my feet. And I sat there and held his head so he didn't bang his head on the floor and tried to keep him from biting his tongue. And the ambulance came and took, I think his name was Charlie, if I remember right, took Charlie away. And that was the fields of opportunity. For real. Now that's where the stories from For Real begin, is right then and there. Everybody who was my best friend for the 3 years before that now hates me. They're all traveling together, playing music, doing their best to fist bump, high five, support each other in my face as much as possible, make sure I know how successful they're being, starting new companies. And they're all one unit team, working together, working hard, kicking ass. And I was left to try to pick up the pieces for me. And so I started writing the album For Real. And that's probably the best place to stop for tonight, I think. For Real gets pretty fucking real, guys. The Fields of Opportunity has the most music, but For Real, I think, has the most truth behind it. Because I didn't hold anything back. But listen to that music, guys. Go back and listen to the self-titled album, Izzy Done For. Because that one is probably, in my opinion, the most commercial album that I put out. It was meant for me to blow up, to become whoever Izzy Done For was going to become. The Fields of Opportunity was my effort to do something beyond just blowing up. Like, I wanted to not only blow up, but stamp that shit for sure. I am here, Izzy Done For. Like, as an independent artist, man, coming out with his own record label, a double disc album was what I was starting out with. I just felt like I was the cream of the crop. Coming out of Iowa, that's a big deal. And that's, I guess, I'm small time, man. I grew up in a little town. I grew up around people who I was related to all of them, 1,000 people. And so when I get to do things at the level that I'm doing now, it's all positive, man. I'm so lucky and I'm so grateful and I'm so blessed to still be telling my story today in 2020 during a stupid fucking pandemic that our country can't seem to just bring us all together so we can get it under control. And so now here I am telling my story because of it. My mouth's really dry because I smoke weed. Hey, I'm trying to be as super transparent as I can be because I don't know that this is ever going to happen again. You know what I mean? These story times. And like I said, in the mornings I do a podcast called The Unmasked Underground. These are things that I avoided doing while I was touring because I wanted to make in-person connections. But I wouldn't trade this for the world, guys. So I'm glad you hang out with me when you do. And for the people who might watch this in the future, we're in a pandemic right now, and so that's why I'm doing all these little story times and whatever these talks are. It's a lot of energy that I've had stored up for a long time, guys. And I didn't realize everybody didn't know all these things because I always figured that, with social media and trying to be out there in the moment, I figured everybody pays attention. But the more I communicate with more people, I'm learning that, a lot of people didn't know a lot of these things that I've gone through. So I'm lucky to have the opportunity to tell my story and to still be out here doing what I do. Still writing music today, fresh, 2020, still releasing songs. You know, a lot of artists come and they go real fast, in, out. I might not be super famous, I might not be super rich, but I have 20 years that I can say I've been kicking some ass out there, guys, and I've had a lot of fun doing it. So I'm going to try to keep telling these stories as long as I can, be here, be with you. I'll do it. So thank you guys for being a part of my night. If you want to listen to some music in the mornings, I do a show, a podcast. I call it a show. Everybody calls it a show. It's me in the morning playing songs that I've either written or recorded or produced or have some sort of involvement in off of all of the albums and even some other people's albums too. So, you know, maybe it'll evolve and keep growing and I'm really proud of the way that people seem to be coming together, though. I never expected that, to tell you the truth. So as long as that keeps up, I think I'm doing the right thing. Thank you guys for being a part of my night. I'm Izzy Dunfor. Go to izzydunfor.com if you would. It'd really help me out a lot right now. I got some new music on there. There's like 10 albums, guys. If you don't want to buy them, that's fine, but give it a listen. I wrote the music to be heard. Word. Peace, guys. Have a great night. See you in the morning.